you good? All right, so I'm going to start us off with Coach.
You know, Ryan, just what's been the most frustrating part of the last 2 weeks?
Not winning the game. You know, I think it's been different reasons why we have faltered in those 2 weeks. You know, as a competitor, you're playing to win, and so when you don't, it's frustrating. And I feel like, you know, we as coaches, we have to do a better job of putting our guys in successful positions. And then, you know, as players, when opportunities are there to make plays, we got to make them, and we got to play complementary football.
And then just as far as the outside noise, how do you black that out, and kind of keep that tunnel vision?
Yeah, well, you know, during the season, I don't really open Twitter or read articles unless it's for recruiting purposes. You know, try to encourage our guys to do the same. Obviously, I got a couple of friends that think it's funny to send me tweets to rib me a little bit. So yeah, you know what's being said, you know what's going on. I'm not naive to it. You know, that's part of being in this profession, being in a competition arena. Like, you know, you have a fan base that is as passionate as ours is. You know, you're going to hear frustration, and rightfully so. So it's not unexpected. You know, we turn this thing around and win some games. You'll start hearing the other side of that noise, and that can be just as toxic as well. So to me, when you're in the throes of a season, you know, you don't pay attention to the noise. You pay attention to the guys that are in the building.
Ryan, last year the defense averaged better than 1 turnover a game, and this year you have 0 through 3 games.
I'm well aware.
How do you provide more opportunities where you can get, you know, we saw what it did for Oregon State the other night, get those momentum-changing plays for your defense?
Yeah, you know, first we have to put team. I think, you know, obviously it is easier to generate turnovers when teams are throwing the football. You know, you get sack fumbles, you get tip balls, you get quarterback pressures, and then obviously you get the ball in the air. And once the ball's in the air, it's kind of up for grabs. And so we haven't forced people to throw it. You know, the first game we were ahead, but they were trying to get out of the game, so they just kept running it. And then obviously the last 2 weeks we've been behind, and so it's hard to generate turnovers when offenses are able to play conservative football. So I think it's twofold. You know, us being aware of where the ball is when we're going in to make tackles, and then, you know, as a football team trying to get a lead. I think will generate more opportunities when offenses are forced to be more aggressive.
How reliant is your defense right now on your offense staying on the field for it? I mean, your defense is playing a lot of plays the last 2 weeks, it seems like.
Yeah, that's, you know, like I said, we got to play complementary football. We got to look at, you know, when we're using tempo offensively. You know, how do we generate, you know, easier third down conversions? You know, there's a lot of things that we are evaluating right now.
Seemed like some things improved against Oregon State, some things didn't. What were some of the areas that you can build on in that game?
Yeah, you know, one, I think, and I told this to the team, like they played the game the right way, and I think that's why I'm frustrated. You know, we ran the ball really well, obviously. You know, on defense, I thought we played well for the better part of 3.5 quarters. You know, we had inopportune mistakes offensively early that defensively we were able to sort of put the fire out, so to speak, and you know, play complementary football that way. We just didn't take advantage of opportunities when we had them as a team, but I do think we played. You know, we challenged them to be tough and physical and to play with enthusiasm. I thought they did that. You know, for the entirety of the game. You know, they were. You know, I was infuriated after the game. doing a lot of self-reflections, and then you get on the plane and you get the laptop and you start watching the tape, and it's like, okay, there are things that look familiar here. There are signs of what I've envisioned us to be. There are plays and strings of plays throughout the course of the game that look familiar, like what we've seen in camp and in spring ball. So that part gave you hope and encouragement, because it does feel like we're close. But we're in a position right now as a program where we can't overcome these self-inflicted catastrophes. You know what I mean? And so, like when you stop a team on the 4th down conversion to start the game in their territory, you got to come away with points. You have to. And when you have a turnover, and we're starting to get things going on. Or when you start to get things going on offense, and it's a 2-score game, like on defense, you got to get a stop. You have to, you know what I mean? And the last 2 weeks we haven't played crisp that way, and so just keep putting our head down and continue to work, and got to see improvement this week.
Now that you've kind of had these back-to-back tough games, is there things that you think that haven't resonated yet that you're kind of telling your guys, or is there stuff that maybe you're gonna all out change, or what's the mindset there?
You build on the things that you had success with. I'm talking on the defense side of the ball, and you correct areas where you got exposed, and you look at why you got exposed there, and was it a schematic issue or a technique issue, or are we asking somebody to do something that isn't realistic? I think we've addressed those areas of concern, and I'm excited to see what that looks like on Saturday. On offense, we got to do things that our guys are comfortable with, and give our guys that need touches, give them touches. And we got to do things that allow our quarterback to play well. Huddy's a talented individual, and that talent's got to show up on game day.
I guess maybe just to follow up on that last point, I guess what are you seeing as you evaluated the passing game from these last 2 weeks that is insufficient, that is maybe preventing Hudson being able to do what
I think we'll keep those issues in-house so that we're not tipping our hand to our opponent. But there are definitely things that we've talked about and have addressed, and I'm looking forward to seeing what that looks like on Tuesday's practice.
Have you been talking to him specifically, maybe just in the role as the head coach, and what is your message to him? Obviously starting off with a record-setting performance and then these 2 setbacks. Do you feel like you need to maybe go to him as far from a confidence standpoint, from a support standpoint?
Yeah, I've had one-on-one conversations with him. That's our, like you said, I'm the head coach and that's our quarterback. So absolutely, we've had conversations.
Go back to something you said, and Kevin said it too, that concept of evaluating the scheme, and maybe there were guys who you're asking too much of players. Can you explain that further, how you get 3 games into a season and into a second season and are having that issue?
Well, we've got new guys out there as well, right? And we have played 3 completely different types of opponents. And so, I think those 3 games are good evaluators for us, because what might look great against Indiana State didn't look great against Notre Dame. And was it not great because it was Notre Dame, or now we've had another opportunity against the Oregon State team, right? So, yeah.
Ryan, I know last year, and you being from Colorado, you talked about kind of growing up with that hatred of Nebraska, but right now it's really about your team and it doesn't matter who you're playing.
Absolutely.
That said, right now you've gone through a non-conference portion of your schedule. How maximized, I guess, now is it that it's Big Ten football from here on out?
Yeah, I'm excited. Like I said, we were extremely positive and confident after the first week. The sky was falling after the second competition, and then you're disappointed. But but hopeful after the third. And so, you know, now we've got some cataloged information. You know, we've been able to identify areas we need to improve. You know, we're going to start getting guys back healthy and throw it into the depth chart. And this team will continue to improve throughout the season. You know, that's one of the things that we've been harping on is, you know, we want to be peaking at the end of the year. And so I fully anticipate us to do so.
More questions for Coach Allen? Go Allen first, then
Just what you've seen about Nebraska. Obviously, they've shown improvement. They lost a tough game this past weekend, but the quarterback is dynamic and they seem to be much improved from last year.
Yeah, they are. You know, I got a lot of respect for Coach Rule and what he's been able to accomplish in his career. You know, obviously Nebraska is a place with long storied tradition and a lot of passion and support. You know, the quarterback, like you talked about, he's the starting quarterback at Nebraska as a true freshman for a reason. You know, he's everything you want, big and confident. I think the confident piece sort of sticks out the most. He's not afraid to throw the ball on tight windows. He trusts his guys to go make plays. He can throw it from every different type of platform and get it there pretty accurately. You know, up front they're big and physical. They got talented running backs. You know, they got a few wideouts that can really go and make plays down the field and catch contested balls. You know, they get creative with their personnel. You know, the quarterback we faced last year, he'll be on the field at the same time as the starter, and they get creative that way. So we'll have to have answers there. So you know, they are improved. I think the roster is improved, and I think they're doing a good job of putting their guys in positions to have success.
Just wanted to follow up on what you said about getting guys back on the roster. There wasn't necessarily any additions that jumped out from what we were given. Is there anything you can share about who you're expecting back?
I mean, I can say whatever, right?
Yeah.
You know, I would expect Nyland Green to be back. You know, Winston Berglund looked good running today. We'll see how he looks in practice. You know, I think Salim is another guy that will be back. Who else was out there today? Yeah, so, you know, I think those guys will practice this week.
Especially as it relates to Nyland, some of the things that you guys have been talking about defensively, how much does he help on that edge, and especially just, I guess, from just an attitudinal standpoint?
Yeah,
in some ways?
a ton. He helps out a ton.
Anything else for Coach? All right, thanks, Coach. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Aaron.